Welcome to Module 3 of the PHP class. I want to very quickly demonstrate what you might think of when you're starting to think of the calculator assignment for A3. It's not a terribly complicated assignment, but it does demonstrate the use of expressions and the use of operators to create a mathematical formula in PHP and then display the results. Of course, we want to pay attention to how things look and the CSS styling of things as well. So I have a page running on my local web server that asks for a height and a width of a rectangle, and then I have a div-based rectangle there just to kind of provide an illustration. It doesn't really do anything on this page. So if I enter the height and width, let's say 20 and 40 for the rectangle, and then I hit the calculate it button, it submits to an a3 underscore script.php file. What you'll see about this right now is that it doesn't show anything, and that's because I haven't put the PHP script in yet. This is just sort of a template that I've created, and I'm going to have the result of the calculation appear actually inside the rectangle as a number, and then of course I have a try it again link that takes you back to the original page. So now let's take a look at the HTML and PHP for these files. So first, let's take a look at the form file. It's a pretty basic form. In fact, most of this is just the CSS styling, and maybe I went a little bit overboard, but sometimes it's fun to make things look nice. And I'm hoping that you'll use a little bit of imagination to make your page look nice as well, because that's part of the web design process and it's good practice. But here's the form. It's really basic. I've got some labels and then, of course, some text input fields for height and width. Most of the formulas on the calculator that I shared with you are pretty basic and just require 2, maybe 3 inputs maximum. So it's not a complicated form. And then I've got a submit button. You can see here it submits to PHP a3 underscore script.php, and I'm still using post as the method. We'll get around to using get as the method in the next module, and there are some interesting uses for that as well. And then if I go over to the a3 underscore script file, here's the file as it stands right now. Again, mostly CSS. I'll collapse that. And what we can see here is we've just got some blank spaces, and I'm going to put the result right here inside the rectangle div. So if I want to calculate that, the first thing I need to do is I need to get the form input from those two variables or from those two fields. And I had a width one, so I'm just going to call that variable width. So a $ in front of every variable. And then I'm going to use post, the post object, or the post variable, which is a collection actually, and I'm going to get the width from that form collection that was posted, and then I'm going to do the same thing with height. Height equals $ underscore post, all caps, and then height, and those are the two variables. Now I have the width and height. All I need to do is calculate the area. So I'm going to type area equals height times width, and that's the basic formula for the calculation of a rectangle. Now I have the area of the rectangle in this variable here. I'm going to use the shortcut for echoing to the screen down here, which is the short PHP tag. It's a less than sign with a question mark, and then I'm going to say equals area, just like that. So this is the PHP shortcut for printing that variable in this space between these two div tags. So if I save that, now I should be able to go back to the form. Again, if I enter height and width, hit calculate it, now you can see that appears there. And if I was to inspect that in Chrome, you can see all it prints is the number 800 because that is the value of the area there. So that is the really basic version of a calculator. I hope you will use your imagination and come up with something exciting.